The rain hammered against the cafe windows as Dr. Maya Patel checked her phone for the 5th time in 10 minutes. 7:30. Her blind date was officially 30 minutes late. "Can I get you anything else?" the waitress asked sympathetically, eyeing the untouched glass of water. "Just 5 more minutes," Maya said, forcing a smile. It was her 34th birthday, and she'd let her colleague Priya convince her that online dating was the answer to her loneliness. "You spend all your time in that hospital laboratory," Priya had said. "When was the last time you actually went on a date?" Maya couldn't remember. Between her research on pediatric immunology and the long hours at Boston Memorial Hospital, romance had taken a permanent backseat. Her phone buzzed. "Finally, sorry, can't make it. Just saw your profile pic again. Not really into the whole Indian thing. Good luck though." Maya's stomach dropped. She read it twice, then a third time, as if the words might rearrange themselves into something less cruel. Her hands trembled as she set the phone face down on the table. "Happy birthday to me," she whispered. She should leave. Walk out with whatever dignity she had left. But her legs wouldn't move. The humiliation pinned her to the seat like a specimen under a microscope, something to be examined and found wanting. "Excuse me." Maya looked up to find a little girl standing beside her table. She couldn't have been more than 6, with auburn curls escaping from a ponytail and bright green eyes that sparkled with curiosity. Behind her stood a tall man in a worn leather jacket, looking mortified. "Lily, we talked about this," he began. "But Daddy, you said I could ask." The girl turned back to Maya with devastating earnestness. "Are you sad? You look like my daddy does when he thinks I'm asleep." Maya blinked, caught off guard. It's just been a long day, sweetie. Is it your birthday? You have a birthday crown on your phone case." Maya glanced at her phone. She'd forgotten about the silly rhinestone case Priya had given her, complete with a glittery crown, and "Birthday Queen" written across it. "Yes, actually. It is my birthday." The little girl's face lit up like fireworks. "Really? Daddy, did you hear? It's her birthday." She turned back to Maya with sudden intensity. "Can you be my new mom?" The silence that followed was deafening. "Lily." The man, her father, looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. His face had gone crimson. "I am so sorry. We're working on boundaries," but Maya found herself laughing. Really laughing, for the first time all evening. It bubbled up from somewhere deep and genuine, washing away the sting of rejection. "That's quite an offer," Maya said, wiping her eyes. "We haven't even been properly introduced." Lily grabbed her father's hand and dragged him closer. "This is my daddy, James. James Montgomery. He's a teacher. He teaches history to teenagers, which is really brave, because teenagers are scary. And I'm Lily Marie Montgomery, and I'm 6 3/4, and my mommy died when I was 3, so I don't remember her much, but Daddy says she had pretty hair like yours." James looked like he might actually die of embarrassment. "Lily, breathe. Please." He met Maya's eyes with an apologetic grimace. "I'm sorry. She's been on a mission lately. There was an incident at school involving Mother's Day crafts. All the other kids have moms," Lily said matter-of-factly. "Emma has 2 moms, which seems really greedy. I just want one." Maya's heart cracked open. She knew that particular brand of childhood longing. She'd lost her own mother to cancer when she was 8. The hole never quite filled in, just learned to live around the edges. "Would you like to sit down?" Maya heard herself say. "Both of you. I have a table for 2, but I think we can squeeze in 3. James hesitated. "We couldn't intrude on your birthday, please," Maya said, and something in her voice must have convinced him, because he nodded and pulled out a chair for Lily. "Only if you let us buy you dessert," he said. "It's the least we can do after my daughter proposed on your behalf." Over tiramisu and hot chocolate, Maya learned that James had been a widower for nearly 4 years. His wife, Emma, had died in a car accident during a winter storm. He'd been teaching high school history at a Boston prep school ever since, raising Lily mostly on his own with help from his sister. "The hardest part isn't the practical stuff," James admitted, watching Lily draw elaborate princess castles on her paper placemat. "It's the moments like today." She came home from school crying, because they are doing a Mother's Day tea next month. All the kids are supposed to bring their moms. He ran a hand through his dark hair. "I volunteered to come as her special person, but it's not the same." She knows it's not the same. Maya told them about her work at the hospital, about the breakthroughs they were chasing in childhood immune disorders. She told them about growing up with her father after her mother died, about how he'd learned to braid her hair from YouTube videos and burned dinner most nights, but never missed a single one of her science fairs. "Love adapts," she said. "It finds a way." "Can you do braids?" Lily asked suddenly, studying Maya with serious eyes. "Lily," James warned. I can, Maya said. My father taught me, and then I taught myself about 40 different styles, because I was convinced I could science my way into perfect hair. Did it work? Not even a little. But I can do a pretty decent French braid now. Lily's face split into a grin. Daddy can only do ponytails. And they are always crooked. They are not always crooked, James protested. Just, frequently. They talked until the cafe staff started stacking chairs on nearby tables. Maya couldn't remember the last time she'd felt this comfortable with strangers, except they didn't feel like strangers anymore. As they gathered their coats to leave, Lily tugged on Maya's sleeve. Dr. Maya. Will I see you again? Maya glanced at James, who was very carefully studying his shoes. I'd like that, Maya said. If your dad says it's okay. James met her eyes, and something passed between them, tentative, hopeful, terrifying. We're going to the Museum of Science on Saturday, he said. Lily's obsessed with the butterfly garden. If you're free, no pressure. Just, I love butterflies, Maya said, and meant it. That Saturday turned into a Sunday at the park. Then a Tuesday evening at Lily's school play where Maya watched her perform as Tree Number 3 with the gravitas of a Shakespearean actor. Then a Friday family dinner where James's sister Rachel grilled Maya with the intensity of a federal prosecutor before declaring her acceptable. 6 months later, Maya was braiding Lily's hair before school when the little girl said, Dr. Maya. I'm glad I asked you to be my mom that day. Maya's hands stilled. Sweetheart, I'm not. I know you're not my real mom. My real mom is in heaven, and she loves me from there. But you love me from here, and Daddy loves you, and that makes you my bonus mom. Emma's mom has 2 moms, because her other mom is a bonus mom from before she was born. I'm just getting mine a little later, which is okay. Maya finished the braid with tears in her eyes. You know what? I'm glad you asked me to. Even though it was terrifying. Love is terrifying, Lily said wisely. That's what makes it brave. A year after that rainy birthday evening, Maya stood in a small chapel wearing her mother's pearl necklace and holding wildflowers. Lily stood beside her in a purple dress, holding the rings. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Lily raised her hand. The audience gasped. James went pale. I object, Lily announced solemnly, to waiting any longer. Can we do the kissing part now? I'm hungry and there's cake. The chapel erupted in laughter. James buried his face in his hands. Maya caught his eye and saw the love there, messy, imperfect, and real. You heard the lady, the officiant said, grinning. By the power vested in me, and by popular demand, I now pronounce you husband and wife. As James kissed her, Maya heard Lily stage whisper to Rachel, I told you my plan would work. I always pick the best moms. Later, cutting the cake, Maya's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Saw your wedding pics online. Looks like you found someone. Still not my type, but congrats I guess. Maya deleted it without responding. She had everything she needed right here. A brilliant little girl, who'd had the courage to ask a stranger for love, and a man who taught her that family wasn't about biology. It was about choosing each other, every single day. Make a wish, James said, handing her the knife, but Maya didn't need to wish. For the first time in a long time, she had exactly what she'd been searching for, a home.